up, YouTube? This is Biblical Truther. My wife had found some stuff online the other day. I don't know if it was Facebook or YouTube or whatever, but there's been some disclosure happening with Israel. And I don't know if you guys remember me making this video about 3 weeks ago. It's probably got about 100 views or so. Check this out.
I was given an incredible document by Keith Scott, an ex-Scientologist who actually speaks out against Scientology publicly. Keith Scott told me that he'd received this document from an OT3 level Scientologist who works in Scientology as a clerk. The document is entitled OT8 Series 1 Confidential Student Briefing of May 1980 by L. Ron Hubbard. In this document, to which only the highest ranking Scientologists were privy, we read Hubbard's statements where he declares that he is a fulfillment of the Antichrist. Hubbard stated, quote, "No doubt you are familiar with the Revelation section of the Bible where various events are predicted. Also mentioned is a brief period of time in which the archenemy of Christ, referred to as the Antichrist, will reign, and his opinions have sway. All this makes for very fantastic, entertaining reading, but there is truth in it. This Antichrist represents the forces of Lucifer, literally the light bearer, or light bringer. Lucifer being a mythical representation of the forces of enlightenment, the Galactic Confederacy. My mission could be said to fulfill the biblical promise represented by this brief Antichrist period. During this period, there's a fleeting opportunity for the whole scenario to be effectively derailed, which would make it impossible for the mass Maccabean landing or second coming to take place. The second coming is designed, among other things, to trigger a rapid series of destructive events and bring about the eventual enslavement of mankind. The Church of Scientology went to great lengths in court to get the document banned from public disclosure on the grounds of copyright law. But the judge in the case ruled that on the grounds of public interest, the copyright does not apply. Hubbard also states in this document that, quote, Jesus was not nearly the sainted figure he has been made out to be. In addition to be a lover of young boys and men, he was given to uncontrollable bursts of temper and hatred that belied the general message of love, understanding, and other macabre PR. Upon his death, L. Ron Hubbard also seemed to be priming Scientologists to accept the eventual Antichrist as though it were himself in a future incarnation. He went on to state, quote, "I will soon leave this world only to return and complete my mission with another identity. I'll return not as a religious leader, but as a political one. I will not be known to most of you, my activities misunderstood by many. Yet along with your constant effort in the Theta Band, I will effectively postpone and then halt a series of events designed to make happy slaves of us all." So there you have it, the secret that I've kept close to my chest all these years.
So the title of that video was New Agers, the Galactic Federation is not your friend. And lo and behold, 3 weeks later, we have Israel and a retired general saying that they have been in contact, Israel and the U.S. has been in contact with the Galactic Federation for years. It's pretty crazy, man, especially with L. Ron Hubbard saying that they were here to take over the earth. You know, this is Satan's army just waiting in the wings. It's kind of like that show, A Childhood's End. I don't know who all's heard of that show, but it was about an alien presence on Earth where they came and kept themselves hidden, but the people knew that they were in control or had taken over the planet for the betterment of mankind. And Crewellen, who was a very I don't even know how to explain it, a depiction of Satan, basically a horned, demonic winged, goat-footed alien, quote unquote, but just so happened to look like Satan. It's pretty crazy, man. Check this out. I just want you to see this from the Jerusalem Post today, December 7th, 2020. Guys, this is crazy, man. From the Jerusalem Post, former Israeli Space Senate security chief says aliens exist, humanity not ready. This was today, December 7th, 2020. Unbelievable. The Galactic Federation has supposedly been in contact with Israel and the U.S. for years, but are keeping themselves a secret to prevent hysteria until humanity is ready. Has the state of Israel made contact with aliens? According to retired Israeli general and current professor Chaim Eshed, the answer is yes. But it has not been kept a secret because humanity, or this has been kept secret because humanity isn't ready, quote unquote. Speaking in an interview to whatever, however you say that, who served as the head of Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years and is a 3-time recipient of the Israel Security Award, explained that Israel and the U.S. have both been dealing with aliens for years. And this by no means refers to immigrants, with Eshed clarifying the existence of a Galactic Federation. Oh my. So in that show, Llewellyn finally reveals himself, and they find out, all the mothers and fathers in the world find out later that they're only interested in the children. Sounds eerily similar to the Satanists of our day and our reality being interested in our children, right? I've been talking about it for a while now, that's pretty much, I think it was Helena Blavatsky was one of the people who said, if you want to change a nation, forget the old people, focus on the children, because the old people are set in their ways. So it's easier to change a nation through the children than to deal with the old people. I just find that pretty crazy, man, that disclosure is happening right now. And I also think it's funny because I've made several references in videos in the past about the Revelation 12 sign that happened September 23rd, 2017. In that Revelations, it says that after this great sign in heaven, and I've said, you know, whether manufactured or not, this was the great sign in heaven. 1260 days after that sign, a war breaks out in heaven, and Michael and his angels fight against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fight back, but they weren't strong enough, and they were cast out of heaven. So I've been saying there's a good possibility that next year on March 21st, 2021 is 1260 days from that sign that Satan will be put upon the shores. There's a possibility. Let me just say that. But I also told you about a call-in on Marfugul, a guy who called in on Marfugul and said that he was an insider from the Pentagon, and that our government absolutely knows that they are expecting an entity of sorts, whether it be alien or interdimensional. We all know that these are interdimensional beings, because there's no such thing as space. But he was talking about on Marfugul's show one night that they're expecting an entity to show himself around mid-March of next year, and that the leaders of our governments around the world are quite uneasy about it, because this thing, being, alien, whatever, demonic entity is basically going to assume control of the world. And that's pretty crazy, because, you know, the 7 years of tribulation, you know, the first 3.5 years is typically described as a little topsy-turvy, but the last 3.5 is when he's given power to overcome the saints. Excuse me. So I just thought that was pretty crazy. I got a bunch of other stuff. I'm gonna put some links in the description to this post from today, but also some other things that talk about the Galactic Federation. And I just thought that was crazy, that I just felt led to make that short video, you know, a few weeks ago about the Galactic Federation not being your friend, and here they are being announced to the world by an Israeli general, saying that it's, you know, Israel and the United States in cahoots with these things. So putting this out there, man. They're getting ready to bring the aliens forth. So wild. So crazy to be living in these times, right? Man, I love you guys.
Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints,